Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row is, we refer to it as high vibe Pisces energy. That part of our dualistic nature of free will that has hope and faith and belief and love and in ourself and in our dreams. But we can struggle within ourselves because we also have our more worldly nature, which can be our more fearful, insecure, immature, prideful, egotistical, lazy nature. It takes work and effort to grow and heal and mature yourself. And sometimes we'd rather not do that. We'd like to get reward without effort. And also, if we're going to go live our life differently and have hope and faith and belief in our dreams and not live life the way we've maybe been living life to some degree or another, it might mean that, we're not going to hang out with certain people. We might get a different job, want to hang out with different people, because there's some reason why we don't want to keep living our life the way we've lived it, or we're just ready to do something different. We could love our life, but we want to go do something different. We're trying to get some of the people in our life to move forward with us in that way, kind of maybe have a more adventurous spirit or something. And if they're not willing to do it, that can make us feel stuck. And then we got to kind of figure out, am I willing to do it anyway? And maybe I will go find a new friend or someone who wants to go do those things with me. So some people could be struggling within themselves and still debating. Some people have definitely chosen, I have hope and faith and belief in love. Other people have definitely chosen, I'm not doing love, I get hurt doing love. Love is optional. I'm more about me. I'm more about these things of the world that I want to indulge in. Or I'm more about my ego and money and materialism or something. We all have to make those choices in life. So it can depend on how one thing that can influence us is our Pisces nature. And we all tap into Pisces energy. What is our truth? What do we love? What drives and motivates us? How do we view the world? Do we have illusions about relationships and think we can be immature and prideful and bossy and people should put up with us? Life's about learning lessons. And some people have learned more lessons than some other people. And we probably like to hang out with people who view life the same way we do. So listen to your intuition about where you're at in the story and where some other people are at in your life. The reason for the top rose reading is the Wheel of Fortune, which is kind of going with the flow, that life is that you go through these different life experiences to learn lessons in life. And some people are willing to kind of learn those lessons along the way. But the reason for the bottom rose reading is the Nine of Wands, which can be people defensive. And it could be just defensive to change. I don't want to go with the flow. I have a certain way of viewing life, a way of viewing relationships, and this is how I want to do it. And, the Nine of Wands and Sagittarius energy and shadowy can be that people kind of are immature and they have some lessons to learn in life. And when some people were in relationship with them, they could have found out that they kind of harness their Sagittarius and their Pisces energy differently. High vibe Sagittarius is about higher learning and education, and that you end up having good boundaries to your more, as you go through life, you have good boundaries to your more immature, prideful, bossy, controlling, self-centered, whatever nature. You learned to have good boundaries to your shadow nature, to go with the flow and work cooperatively with people in relationships. And some people are like, I don't want to do that. I like doing it the way I do it. It's like, okay, well then you just need to find someone who's on the same page as you, because some other people are moving away from you. So in the top row, we have the Knight of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, the Two of Swords, and the Hangman. We can all defend living life a certain way. And when we first kind of get into a certain phase of life, depending on wherever we're at in our life and how we view life, we're all going to defend that way of living life. we think is just and fair because that's the stage of life that we're at. But if we keep trying to live life at a certain stage of life, like forever, and we're not kind of growing and healing and maturing ourselves, we might come to realize that the reason we're not moving forward in life differently, we start to realize it's because we're defensive. And then, you know, we're kind of in a mental prison because it does require the Taurus Hierophant can kind of represent our philosophy of life. You know, we had this certain way of living life, just like we did, age 15, age 18, age 21, age 25. And in order to move to that next phase of life, you know, we've got to face our fears and believe in ourselves that I think I can do that next phase of life. I have lived my life learning certain life skills, and now I think I am ready to go to that next phase of life, and I am willing to expand my philosophy of life to go with the flow. And then the Knight of Pentacles talks about kind of offering some of the lessons that we've learned in life to our more maybe immature nature that could keep us stuck more in our pride and ego, that if we don't kind of expand our perception of ourselves and the world around us and have some hope and faith and belief in ourselves, we're going to keep repeating this old pattern, being defensive and up in our head because we have fear of kind of believing in ourselves that we can conquer that next phase of life. So we offer kind of love and encouragement in a way to ourselves, to listen to our intuition, to look at life from a different perspective. And, you know, so much of our life is just based on what we think and how we think. What if we were to look at life differently? And that kind of reminds me, there's a lady, you can Google her on YouTube, and she's written books and traveled around the world. But she had kind of went through a major midlife crisis. She was married, had kids. She was really angry, it sounds like, all the time. And she ended up going to go get some help. And she just kind of had this aha epiphany moment of realizing, you know, even why am I so angry? Why am I so mad? You know, let's look at my life. What is going on that is making me feel like this? And kind of realizing it wasn't even really anything going on in her life. And again, so much of it, our own shit in our own head. And her name is Byron, Byron, Katie. So if you just Google in YouTube Byron Katie, you can read PDFs, downloadables of her books. But she's written a couple books, travels around the country now. But she had come up with this thing where it's like, you know, ask yourself, what do I think is true? I have this certain way of viewing life. I could think, everybody hates me, nobody likes me. So you ask yourself, like, is that true? And of course, we all think what we think is true, or we wouldn't think that way, right? So initially, we'd probably say yes. And then the second question, is that really true? Come on. Really? Does everyone hate you? Blah, blah, blah. Well, then we have to like concede that, okay, maybe not everybody hates me, blah, blah, blah. And then the third one is, how does it make you feel when you think that thought? And the fourth one is, how differently would you feel if you didn't think that thought? And that's kind of what the Hangman is about. If I were to look at life differently, and, you know, again, not everything I think is true. I can latch on to certain things and act like it's my little baby that I'm going to feed every day, and I'm going to give it a bottle, and I'm going to burp it, and I'm going to grow it to adulthood saying that's true. Is that true? But that's the one we latched onto and said, yep, that's true. Yep, I'm going to build my whole life on that truth. And that isn't even true. What we think dictates so much about how we live our life. So if we expand our perception about what is true, what isn't true, why do I think the things I think? Where'd I get that idea? Who put those ideas in my head? what's my truth? When did I give up belief in myself and in my dreams? Other people could have given up on me. Other people didn't believe in me. Other people could have been immature or bossy or controlling or hurtful or unkind, defensive, unloving, blah, blah, blah. Is that, I can only take responsibility for me. And I don't control other people. And if I'm willing to see the truth, that some people are defensive and are in a mental prison about love and are kind of stubborn or prideful or bossy or controlling or whatever, that doesn't say that's who they are. They in turn could have treated me certain ways, but does that mean that I don't have worth and value and I have to give up my dreams? Maybe I just need to distance myself from people who might want to be in relationship with me, but they're defensive and in a mental prison and kind of bossy and controlling. That's kind of what these cards can mean. Maybe I just need to quit hanging out with them and focus on my dreams and what makes me be with people who are more loving and encouraging and supportive. We have our dualistic nature. What we align with within ourselves can dictate kind of who we spend our time with. Who am I hanging out with? Are they loving and encouraging and supportive? Am I loving and encouraging and supportive? Why am I hanging out with people who aren't loving and encouraging and supportive? Why am I not hanging out with people who are encouraging and friendly and kind and treat me the way I treat them? We do that inner work. And we offer that truth to our fearful and insecure nature and our hopeful and believing nature, so that between the two, my more fearful, insecure nature and my more hopeful, believing nature, that we can maybe work together and look at life differently so we don't keep staying stuck. Our more worldly nature might want to live life a certain way. Our more hopeful, believing nature might want to live life a certain way. And we battle within ourselves about what is the truth, what is my dream, what would be emotionally fulfilling. And sometimes we have to just go with the flow and kind of live our life and kind of wait for things to sort themselves out and time to go by. But while we're doing that, hopefully people would be investing in the people in their life who are being loving and encouraging and supportive of them, and distance themselves from people who are being kind of manipulative or bossy or controlling. Let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Three of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles and the Virgo Hermit, which also is the Knight of Pentacles. Our Virgo Hermit goes within to find out the truth. And the Ten of Cups. For a long time, the Seven of Pentacles and the Hierophant are Taurus energy. We have a way of viewing life. And depending on how we view life at any stage of life, that's what we're going to invest our time, energy, and effort into. In the Three of Cups is Cancer energy, things that we emotionally could love. Well, we all know at different stages of our life, things that we love doing and loved indulging in, and people we like to hang out with, and that's what we invested in. We might still have lessons to learn about. From the Three of Cups to the Ten of Cups is the Seven of Cups. We might have some illusions about things, and we just got growing up to do. The Seven of Cups is that, we want this dream to come into reality. We like to be in relationships with other people. Are we in relationships with people that we can have deep, meaningful relationships with? And I think like when we're younger, we're trying to figure all this stuff out. High vibe people would think, well, of course I want to be in relationships that I have deep, meaningful relationships with. Are we investing in people who also want to have deep, meaningful relationships? Maybe in how they harness their own Cancer energy, You could harness high vibe Cancer energy, but they could harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. Like to be in relationships, but not really do love. Kind of like to use their emotions manipulatively in a relationship. Do we invest in people? And the whole thing is, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about our truth. It's just like, I'm going to go get a job selling lollipops. I think, oh my God, that's going to be so great. I go get that job, and it's like, I don't know, there's some things I don't really like about this job. Maybe this isn't for me. So then we go get a different job, and, maybe it's whatever it could be. Life is about going on these journeys in life to help us get more clear about our truth. And I think we're drawn and attracted to certain people because we could have a lot of things on the surface anyway that we have in common, but there could be some base core foundational issues that are different. We probably wouldn't be drawn and attracted to them if we didn't have some common similarities, like we grew up in the same kind of area. We kind of had similar family backgrounds. We have these certain things in life that we enjoy doing, We're not hanging out with maybe the people who want to go bowling every day, and at different stages of our life, we might have wanted to do the bowling every day. Then we might have wanted to go to the bar every day. It's just like hanging out with these different people to find out what our truth is. But if it's more mature relationships, there can be a lot of things you have in common. But if we get in a relationship and we could find out that one person is more aligned with their hopeful, believing nature, they assume everyone is aligned with their hopeful, believing, loving nature. But we can get in relationships with people who in a lot of ways have a lot of commonality with, but they're hiding that they align with their more defensive nature, or their more immature nature, or self-centered nature, or stubborn nature, something. They have fears about change of some regard. And so we can be in relationships with them. We think a dream is going to come into reality with them. And then we're kind of in a mismatched relationship. And we're wondering why the dream isn't coming into reality. And we kind of feel confused and stuck. And we could communicate to the people we're in a relationship with, why isn't this seeming to be on the same page? And maybe we're starting to see that the people we're in relationship with are seeming to kind of be defensive. And then we're kind of up in our head wondering, why are they kind of being defensive? And maybe they're kind of turning their back on people in their life. Maybe they're focusing more on other people in their life. And, it's kind of seeming to disregard you. And it's like, why are they acting like that? Why are they making like the friends are the primary people in their life, or their original family is their primary person in their life? Why aren't they working together with me in a loving way? And we're confused and we feel stuck and we don't understand. And that's when we kind of do this inner work to try to figure it out. Do I like being in relationships with people who turn their back on investing in me and moving a relationship forward? It's kind of like if those other people in their life seem to be the primary focus in their life, and shadowy energy can be where people are codependent on other people, and they are like their primary foundation they look to for their long-term sense of stability and security, which could be their original family, or it could be a friend group. And you kind of realize that you're like a third party in the relationship to that relationship, even though you could marry them or plan to marry them or did marry them, And then it's kind of like, so basically, these other people in their life, you could feel emotionally manipulate them. Well, you could want them to have better boundaries to those people so those people don't emotionally manipulate them. But if they don't have good boundaries within themselves, they're the only reason other people can manipulate other people is really because there's a part of them that probably aligns with that way of thinking or acting or behaving or living life. If that wasn't kind of aligned with their truth, they would have good boundaries to those people in their life. And we kind of wonder, is this someone I want to marry? Is this someone I want to be in a long-term relationship with? Is this someone, if I've been in a long-term relationship with them, that I want to stay in a long-term relationship with them? This also doesn't have to represent other people. It can just represent that they get emotionally manipulated by their more defensive or immature nature, stubborn nature, ego nature, self-centered nature. But you might find that reflected in some of the people they choose to hang out with in the world. And you kind of wonder, do I want to keep staying in a relationship with someone who doesn't have good boundaries to themselves? That if I have good boundaries and I'm working through my fears and insecurities, do they become defensive to me? Because they want me to stay the same way I was when I could have initially gotten in a relationship with them? Do they like to be in relationships with people who are defensive in a mental prison? Maybe I was in that energy when I got kind of in a relationship with them. And then they want me to stay in that energy, hiding that that's what makes them happy. This is their idea of the dream relationship. You stay confused or stressed or whatever. I don't want you to learn to love yourself and listen to your intuition and look at life any differently, because I like to be in a relationship with you and I need you to stay in kind of shadowy energy. And if you do this work within yourself to kind of free yourself from things that manipulate you, your Seven of Cups, some of your emotional confusion, and work through some of your fears and your insecurities or self-limiting beliefs to align with your more loving, hopeful, believing nature, well, then you've changed. You're not the person I got in a relationship with. And I liked you being in that energy because that's where I am, and that might be where I like to stay. And if you move forward in life differently, when one person in a relationship dynamic changes, it changes the whole relationship dynamic, because one person isn't the same person that like they were before. They just live life differently. They think differently. They view themselves differently. They're maybe not in pain or heartbreak or fear or insecurity or codependency anymore. And that's when some other people don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. You're no longer in denial of the truth. You've expanded your perception of yourself and the world around you, and you're willing to step out of your comfort zone and live life differently, but they're not. And then you could kind of be enlightened to the truth that some of the people that you were in relationship with maybe do have a lot of fears and insecurities that they don't want to deal with. And then instead of high vibe energy as being truthful and honest and just and fair and all that in a relationship, and instead of doing that, they could repeat some poor past patterns where I'm just going to turn my back on you and I'm going to ignore you. And that would be a way to try to emotionally manipulate someone. If I focus on someone else or other things other than you, I want you to be I want you to feel defensive and in a mental prison. So you stop focusing on healing and growing and maturing yourself, because I don't like that. And I want you to come back and focus your attention on me. And that's when you can kind of see that someone is kind of acting in a kind of prideful, egotistical, immature, manipulative way. Why aren't people being truthful and honest? Why aren't people acting in a just and fair way? And how many times are we going to keep putting up with that in a relationship? And we could put up with it for quite a few times because we would like it to work. We don't want to leave. But eventually, how long can we stay in a relationship with someone that we could start to be seeing the truth that I feel this person tries to emotionally manipulate me? Shadowy Taurus, they could act stubborn and prideful and egotistical and maybe trying to install fear and insecurity about me if I were to leave, that maybe I wouldn't have that stability or that security or whatever. From the Seven of Pentacles down to the One Pentacle, it's letting go of the Six of Pentacles, which is doing equal give and take kind of, and exchanging time, energy, and effort and hugs and kisses with someone. It's like, if you don't do things the way I want, then I'm not going to do this kind of equal give and take with you anymore. And it is kind of, I want you to do it my way, which isn't trying to see things from other people's perspectives. It's not about having that hopeful, believing nature. It's not about offering truth and love and listening to your intuition. It's like, no, I have my way of doing it. This is the way I want you to do it. If you're not willing to do it, then I might keep turning my back to you in order to get you to leave. Sometimes we got to wonder when people keep acting in shadowy ways, it's kind of obvious that this is not conducive to a long-term healthy relationship. Why do they do it? It could be because I want you to leave. Because you've changed. You're not the person that you were. Or you're not indulging me the way you used to. You're not focused all your attention on me. I can't emotionally manipulate you the way I used to. And that's when some people leave. It's like, I've seen the truth. If they were motivated and inspired to try to look at life differently, to try to see things from my perspective, were motivated and inspired by love, they would do that. But apparently that's not what they're motivated and inspired by. Some people, we can all, at any given time in our life, we kind of got to evaluate the relationships that we're in. Why? It might have seemed like a good time at the time, and maybe initially it was a good time, and it seemed like everybody was on board. But over time, in any type of relationship, people kind of maybe have to do this reevaluation, I invested in someone. Are we kind of on the same page still? We might have been on the same page at one point in time, but are we still on the same page? As I've been in this relationship with them and they've been in it with me, we've both been kind of thinking probably about what we think would be long-term emotionally fulfilling in a relationship. What is your idea of the dream relationship? What's my idea of the dream relationship? Over time, have people become more defensive, started to live more from their mind than their heart? Like, the focus of the relationship has gotten more about these things of the world that people get caught up in versus keeping things in balance and perspective and still staying focused on love as the main purpose. Sometimes we could kind of realize as time goes by that maybe love wasn't the main purpose of some of the people we got in relationship with. It could have been more to indulge himself in a relationship. It was good for their ego or their image or their status. And then we kind of realize that is the primary focus. But now we could be in a job, in a friendship, in a relationship that we've been in for maybe a long time or thought we wanted to be in it for a long time. But now we're starting to feel defensive and kind of in a mental prison because what initially started out, we were on the same page. One person could have continued to be inspired in hope and faith and belief and love, but the other person has gotten more into being either about themselves, indulgence, or these things of the world. And so we're kind of operating from different foundations, different motivations, different things that drive and motivate us. And I think high vibe people would offer people the truth because they're not operating from their ego. I want to move forward in this way. Are you willing to move forward in this way? And that's when the other people could show that they're defensive, because it does that maybe never was their way of viewing life anyway. We just didn't know it. We were caught up in the Pisces illusion of the relationship, just assuming other people were motivated and inspired by the same things we were and viewed life the way we did, but they maybe never did. Shadowy Virgo, I'm hiding that I'm happy being defensive and living more from my mind than my heart. But I could have gotten in a relationship with you and invested in you and tried to create an illusion I harness high vibe Pisces. I view life just like you do. But then once they get in the relationship, really that's not the truth of who they are. It was just trying to create the illusion so that someone who's more motivated and inspired by love and maybe has good boundaries within themselves and has learned these lessons in life of how to work together with people, and they're just and fair and they're not trying to manipulate and control people. But someone who is kind of in those shadowy energies is in a relationship with someone who's not like them. That's a perk. And it's kind of like they got the best of both worlds. I got a loving person who's hopeful and believing and all that good stuff to get in a relationship with me, and I'm not that kind of person. But I get to be in a relationship with someone like that. That's like having my cake and being able to eat it too. But eventually the high vibe people want to be in a relationship with someone who's like them. And they realize that if the person they're in a relationship with isn't who they said they were, and they have these fears or insecurities or defensiveness that isn't their truth, and they don't want to figure out, why do I make my life more about these things of the world or me or being more about ego or image. It's basically trying to get people in a relationship, and then because, we can all kind of get in our ego about that, like people don't want to get a divorce, but it also could have, stability and security, and you've created a family together, but now you found out the truth and you feel like somebody committed fraud. Like they lied about the truth of who they were. That they were never planning to bring your dream into reality, even though they knew you were someone who's motivated and inspired by love and wants to be in these deep, meaningful relationships. And they're like, oh no, I just kind of created an illusion so you'd get in a relationship with me. And then I was hoping once you found out the truth that you'd be in your ego about it and you'd stay in it anyway, because I really don't care if you feel stuck or not. I don't really care, because it's more about either them being indulged in a relationship. It's good for their ego and image, and they don't plan to change anytime soon, if ever. And so some of you already got out of it. You could have communicated to someone that you think is more aligned with their hopeful, believing spirit in their fire energy of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. And you could have told them about some life experiences that you had and lessons that you learned, and you're ready to go with the flow. And then that person has to work through their thoughts about, however they're living their life. Do they want to keep moving forward and living their life the way they live life, and maybe with the people that are in their life? Or did you help them see life differently? And just like as you're moving forward, you could have people come towards you, and high vibe, the Virgo, isn't trying to tempt you with things of the world. They're trying to reveal the truth. But shadowy people could want to come towards you, and they're trying to tempt you with things of the world because they would like to be in a relationship with you because you're a loving, nurturing person, but they're not. And it's like, no, I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? Okay, a card not showing itself because of the Seven of Swords, the Knight of Wands. What some people don't know about you is before, in a more shadowy Knight of Wands, Nine of Wands, Page of Wands, in your fiery nature before, you might have been more impulsive and defensive to walking the talk and loving and believing in yourself and kind of giving in to kind of indulging yourself maybe more emotionally in the world. But what some people don't know about you is you're not harnessing that energy in a more worldly, shadowy way. You have done this work within yourself. And you've learned that if I take action more out of pride or ego or fear or insecurity or codependency or lust or greed, I'm kind of planting bad seeds and I'm going to reap what I sow. And I don't want to keep harvesting that anymore. So I have that hopeful, believing spirit, and I'm listening to my intuition and love for myself to guide the decisions I make. And I am. Why? Because of the Seven of Swords. You've learned lessons about listening to your intuition. You've learned lessons about your idea of the dream life is different than other people's idea of the dream life. And you know that there's people out there that are kind of manipulative and deceptive and create illusion and try to confuse people about the truth of who they are. And you've really learned to listen to your intuition to guide you now. And you have a dream. And you're not willing to give up your dream. And you're willing to sacrifice some of those things that you maybe would like to indulge in the world for your dream. And some other people aren't willing to sacrifice those things that they want to go indulge in. But maybe they haven't repeated this pattern enough to realize, you know, when we plant bad seeds, to expect we're going to get this abundant harvest when we weren't being truthful and honest and just and fair and loving, they're going to learn some hard lessons. Some other people have already learned those lessons and they're not indulging themselves in their more worldly, immature nature. And there might be some people that, different people, because you have free will, you have to be given choice, there could be different people who come communicate with you. Some people just think you're stuck, maybe. Oh, they're stuck. They could have gotten out of something and they're defensive and they're in a mental prison about maybe another job or getting in a relationship. I know. I'm going to present myself as kind of being in that hopeful, believing spirit of the Page of Wands, but I'm kind of covering up the fact that I'm more in my shadowy, worldly Virgo nature of ego and image and indulgence and stuff. And I'm going to try to get in a relationship with you. I want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And though some of you could be tempted by someone like that, you've learned to listen to your intuition. And it's like, I have a dream. I don't want to replay that type of relationship dynamic again. And you'll keep moving on. Other people that you might meet and that might communicate with you, they view you as someone who they want to be in a long-term relationship with, high vibe Virgo energy, but they don't want to come out with that like right away. So the Page of Wands can be just a small gesture to get to know you. Not like, oh my God, I love you and I think I'd want to marry you. They're just going to get to know you. And then with those people, you're going to listen to your intuition and, see what they've got to say, what their dreams are, what drives them, motivates them, what lessons they've learned in life. And if you seem to be on the same page as them, then those are the people that you're going to move forward with. What's coming up for the people who might harness a more worldly or shadowy Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? The Six of Cups, because of the Tower. Well, for one, when people kind of act in a way that is kind of manipulative or stubborn or bossy or controlling or something, immature, whatever it is, What they don't see coming is that eventually people that they are working with in a relationship, even though those people could love them and want them to be in their life long term, eventually those people see the truth. They want a deep, meaningful relationship, the high vibe people in their life, but these people keep repeating some poor past pattern that isn't conducive to a relationship moving forward in a deep, meaningful way. That's like just and fair and balanced and loving. And eventually the high vibe people in their life see the truth of it and they let go. I can't build a solid, stable, secure, deep, meaningful, loving relationship with someone if that's not the foundation they align with. And I finally see the truth that that isn't the foundation you align with. You keep repeating these old patterns, turning your back to people, trying to manipulate people, being defensive, keep getting up in your head. You don't work through like your fears and your insecurities and have some hope and faith and belief and love. And I need to be in a relationship with someone who does know how to talk themselves off the ledge and get out of their head and have some hope and faith and belief and love. And you don't. And they didn't see that coming. And another thing they might not see coming is there's always going to be other people who want to be in a relationship with people. And if they get in relationships with other people who want to be in deep, meaningful relationships, have hope and faith and belief and love, the same scenario is going to repeat itself over and over and over. And for some of those people, that might be going on right now. You know, we have to be willing to see the truth. We have to be willing to get out of our pride, our ego, our immature nature, our defensive nature, our self-centered nature. We have to get out of our defensive, prideful, egotistical, immature nature to be willing to see the truth. If we want to be different in the next relationship, we have to be enlightened to the truth that we need to cut out our more immature ways of being if we want a dream to come into reality. But some people refuse to see the truth. They think they should be able to keep repeating this old pattern because it maybe worked at one time, or they know people are repeating that kind of pattern and way of being in a relationship and it seems to work for them. They want it to work for them. You know, it's just kind of like, say you were young and drinking. If one person always keeps getting like picked up, it doesn't work out well for them, you know, and other people can seem to live their life like that. Well, maybe you were supposed to be on a different life path than some of the people who can drink and party and nothing, doesn't seem like any negative consequences happen. But if you do it, everything goes wrong. It's trying to get you to see the truth. This is not how you're supposed to be living your life. It might be okay for those other people. Everybody's got their own journey in life, but you're supposed to be on a different journey, a different path, and the universe keeps trying to show you, you can keep doing this if you want, but it ain't going to work out for you. And some people, things, the way they're going about things, it keeps not working out for them, but they refuse to change their philosophy of life. Like, no, I'm the boss, and I'm going to keep doing it. It's like, okay, hope it works out for you. I don't think it will, but you can keep doing it if you want, as many times as you want. You got free will. You can live your life any way you want. Eventually, what might happen is they might get in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. Why? Because that person also could be defensive, likes to live more from their mind than their heart, could be more about the things of the world or ego or image. And they also maybe don't look at life from a higher perspective and don't want to do love because you get hurt doing love. And they don't like to let their more hopeful, believing nature out to play in the world. They like to use their resources, their emotions, their sexuality, their looks, their charm, all their things to try to emotionally manipulate people to get in a relationship with them too. And hide the fact that they're happy being defensive and living more from their mind than their heart. And they should get in a relationship with someone like that. Someone who's on the same page as them. It might not be a very stable foundation because everybody's defensive and fearful of being hurt, fearful, don't trust other people, fearful other people are trying to manipulate and control them because they know they try to manipulate and control other people. But it's trying to get them to see the truth that if you don't change and grow up or mature or heal or something, more loving people, or people who've learned more lessons than you, are going to keep moving away. And you're probably going to end up in a relationship with someone who's like yourself. And now we have two people who don't want to really do love. It's like, I'll indulge in a relationship with you. I'll invest in the relationship with you. It's maybe good for my ego and image. I want to be in a relationship. I prefer to be in a relationship than not in a relationship. I'll be in a relationship with you. But I also have some issues I don't want to deal with. Let's both stay in denial that we could move forward in this relationship because we're either prideful and egotistical or stubborn. Both people could even just want to prove a point to other people. Look, I'm investing in someone else. Look, aren't you defensive? Aren't you up in your head? And the other people have moved on. And by the time these people realize that some people in their past that they were trying to manipulate by ignoring them, thinking they're up in their head and in a mental prison, those people are going to move forward in a deep, meaningful relationship with someone else. And that's when it's like, what? My manipulation tactics didn't work? You mean I've been in this other relationship or focusing on these other things, thinking all this time they were in a mental prison? Well, initially they could have been up in their head and defensive, but eventually they saw the truth of it, that you're not very loving, you're immature, you're manipulative, you play these games to try to manipulate people instead of being truthful and honest. So I see you're not someone I want to be in a relationship with. And eventually those people move on. I was like, wait, but I was doing all these things trying to prove a point so you'd come back and do the relationship my way. And the other people are like, yeah, but I don't want to do life your way. You can stay in the relationship you're in. The people you invested in, that you made a priority in your life, I hope you enjoy your life with them because, and then some people who only got in relationships maybe to try to manipulate someone else, or because they're unstable and they need to be in a relationship, now those people are going to be stuck defending a relationship maybe that has them in a mental prison because it wasn't a relationship they maybe even really wanted to be in to begin with. But when you use people as pawns in your games of manipulation, and you're so stubborn and prideful trying to prove a point, look, I got in a relationship with someone else, yay, hope you enjoy it. And then they realize that nobody's being manipulated anyway. I mean, it is that some people might get out of that relationship when they realize they're not manipulating anybody by it. That everybody can see the truth, or the people they're trying to manipulate to come back to them aren't coming back to them anyway. Well, then they might get out of it. And then they'll be in a mental prison because the people they could have had a solid, stable relationship with, while they were playing these games, other people did this work to love and believe in themselves and realize they don't even want to be in a relationship like this with a person like this anymore. They have seen through the illusion. They were enlightened to the truth by all the shadowy ways of acting that this person did. And they're not someone they view as anybody they'd want to be in a relationship with anyway. And that's when these people realized the only person they were really deceiving and hurting the most was themselves. Because the other people are going to move on, being happy and living their life. And if they keep repeating these poor patterns, other people aren't going to want to stay in a relationship with them. And the people who do are just like them. They could have had a relationship based on truth and love and justice and fairness, but they were unwilling to see the truth about their own kind of immature, shadowy ways of being. And the only people who might be willing to stay in a relationship with them are other people who are just like them. And that's the life they manifested for themselves. And high vibe people weren't willing to give up their dreams to stay in relationships for those reasons. And they listened to their intuition and they believed in their dreams. And those people, the wheel of fate is turning in their favor. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.